I'm back after a week to 10 days from doing any videos. I've been pretty busy finishing off a few chapters in a long form book, which I really needed to do. It was really bugging me that I was sort of putting that to one side, and getting my pages ready for the children's book that we're working on. But firstly, thank you for subscribing to the channel. It's much appreciated. And for those who haven't subscribed, it would be much appreciated and it'd help out a lot. Thank you. Yeah, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to set up the words in each page, how to set up each page, whether it's double page spreads or single pages, and we're going to look at putting those pages into position. I'm hoping that you've actually looked at some of these other videos now in this series. It's complete. You don't need to pay for courses, you really don't, especially for children's books. And if you follow all those other videos and this one and the next couple, the next few actually, as we get this book published with your help, yeah, you won't need to pay for courses. It's super easy, and yeah, so let's get cracking. I hope you've got your little story together and how many words you want it to be. Now the best thing to do is to write your story down, either in a spreadsheet, on a Word document, Google Documents, if you're using Apple, I don't know, whatever it is you use with Apple. So as you can see here, I've got 668 words in total for Jacob and the Dinosaurs, the book that we're working on. For those that don't know, Jacob's my grandson, and which is why we'll have the pen name as Steve Jacob. So on here I've got 36 single pages. We're looking at my book having the title page. When you turn that over, you've got your double page spread. Here's a book with the cover, obviously, but there's nothing on the inside of the cover, again, obviously. Then there's the title page. On the back of the title page is the copyright information. Then the book starts. Now you can do this with single pages because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how you do it. One page after the next, page after the next. So each page is different. But sometimes people like double pages, where both pages are one image and one little part of the story. So instead of saying 36 single pages, you'd have 18 double pages. And so you've got 18 images spread across instead of having 36 separate images. So it can be easier that way too. So, you know, if you're paying for images, which is often the way to go, however you do it, whether you're actually buying art already and the license to use it, whether you're getting an illustrator to make things especially for you, or whether you're using subscription to image sites in which you're paying for, and you know, you can get those images and backgrounds and everything else you need there. Of course, you can always get things free too, you know, but you usually have a better chance of getting better images if you're paying for subscriptions, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of having premium or subscriptions and the license to use those individual images and backgrounds, because you know, there's so many people say, well, but it's cheating, isn't it? Well, why is it cheating? You're paying for them. You're paying for the images. You're paying for what the artist has done. What's cheating about it? What's cheating? You know, it's like you pay an illustrator to do it, your image for you. Is that cheating? Well, no, of course not. But you're paying for those images. And, okay, you might not be paying as much for individual images when you've got a yearly subscription. But you take advantage of that in any way you can. Now here's a book made up of double pages, and I think it looks fabulous like that. I think it looks really good. It gives the children a bigger picture to work with. Obviously you make sure there's nothing down the centre, but I think it works out really well, and especially if there's plenty of colour. So let's get back to what I've done here with the wording. I'll divide the 668 words between 36 single pages. I get 18.5 words per page. So let's just clear a bit of space here to work with, and we'll get rid of that one as well. I'll look at splitting this down. Where's the best place to split it? And that'll do. So now I've got a sentence for each page, and that's the way I will try to break up the whole of the book. How many pages I want to put text on, how many words are in my story, and how many words per page will that mean? Then of course I've got to look at what's happening in that image, in that illustration on that page, and I've got to make sure that these words relate to the illustration, and that's how I will do it. So yeah, the story comes first. Get the story down, and be happy in the knowledge that you can have a perfectly good children's book in under 1,000 words. And when I'm talking children's book, I'm talking young children, for stories that will be read to them, or they're just getting a grasp of some of the words, or getting a grasp of all of the words, but only just. You know, you get away with it under 1,000 words, no problem. 500 words, it really depends. You can do the whole book, as I've said before in a previous video, with no words at all. So it really is up to you, but try to think about it. Try to think about the audience. You know, who will be reading this book? Will they be reading it to somebody? And then create your story and use words appropriate. Yeah, got all your words. I want it into 36 single pages, 18 words roughly a page, and I'll break it down like that. Then I'll add the images that I need for this page, the images that I need for this page, and so on, until I've completed the whole of the book. And of course I might have to tweak it a little bit. You know, it might, that doesn't sound right there, or maybe that doesn't fit in that section where I want it to, so I'll juggle about with it. But before I even get to that point, what I'll have done is I'll have gone over all the words, I'll have proofread them a couple of times, I'll have double checked them, I'll have put them in a Word document like this. I'll use, like I've got here, I've got Grammarly, so it'll suggest words for me, like this bath time was special, I put, but it wants me to put exceptional. Well, that's I don't want that word in there, that's too big a word, and it's too formal. Now, I'm not affiliated to Grammarly, so go for it, you know, and they've got an online app free, and obviously you can pay for the prescription, you need one after paying, but the subscription. So yeah, we've got that part. Get it checked, go over it and over it. If you know someone, you can send it away if you want to pay for that. You know, you're talking, like I say, in my case here, you know, there's less than 700 words. It might cost me 30 quid or something for somebody to proofread that. Okay, so a couple of a previous video in this series, I had the background here in a kind of pale blue, but I didn't like it. I just took that off just now. I prefer it just white on the inside page here because it's only the title page, but I wanted everything to stand out. I could have had the copyright information on the back of the title page, which is fine with a normal book, but I'm using a double page spread. So if you're using single pages, yeah, you can get away with that. But if I was to put the copyright information on this page, then I've got a blank page here really, because I can't start the double page spread till the following one, because it has to be an even number this side and an odd number this side. That will open and look like the double page spread. If we go back to this, page 2 would be the copyright page, and page 3 would be the odd number. And there's nothing really I can do with that. You fill it full of rubbish, or add a bit more information, or put another title on. That's no good. So I've had to move everything onto the title page. That will give me page 2 and page 3, opening even, odd number, opening up as a double page. So let's start putting in the images that I hope you've been making, or you will be making. If you've used an illustrator, then you'll have told them that the book size is going to be whatever it is. And we did all that. I'm going to now put a double page spread in here. So what I've done is I've uploaded. Let me move this over here a little bit so you can turn in my head. Right. I've uploaded the double page spread as a whole. If you're doing it in Canva, I suggest you make the image as a double page spread. So if your page is at 8.5 by 8.5, or even 8.625 by 8.75, allowing for bleed, just make this 8.5 by 17. You don't have to add the bleed to this image. In order for this narrower image to fit the broader image of the bleed page, it will stretch. It will be stretched by Canva, and the edge, the end, the bit that we need at the end, either end, and I'll show you that in a minute, so that we can maneuver the image, will move out. So that probably sounds dead complicated, but there is another video just on that, and I'll put a link to it. We've got the image here. Now, I've done this as an example too, and having each individual item that I can maneuver. The text I've already put on. Now, I don't always do that because I don't know where it's going to end up. Here is the center line of the book, so I try not to put anything of importance in there. Now, depending on where this ends up, and you'll see that shortly, I don't want it to interfere with that when the book is open. I don't want to have to squash the book just to get to see the text. So sometimes it's handy just to put the text in afterwards. So I'll show you what I mean. Now, I would download this. Once I've created an image like this, I would download it as it is, as a picture. Now, whether I choose to put the text on after or as it is now, it all really depends. Depends what mood I'm in. But you can choose to put the text in after if you wish, and it's super simple with Canva. So I'm going to look at it that way for you. Right, so here's the image that I've just dragged into position. I've taken the text out and the background for the text. So if I double click on that, I've dragged it across and it's turned into the background in Canva. I can now move this image all around. So I'll move this across here and just leave it off this edge a touch, but I'll have it pushed up off on the bottom here. See the bottom line here? I'll push it up so that I know I've got a straight line there. I've got it right on the edge, but I'll leave a little bit off this edge here. Now I'll let go. So okay, so I've got this little bit of curtain here on the corner, and that's what I'm going to aim for on the second page of the double page spread. So I can just simply double copy that and paste it in and double click it and keep the bottom up, drag it right across, and what I'm looking for is that little bit there sticking out. And how much of it's sticking out? I can just see a little tiny bit of the curtain there. So I'll have that. That's right there, and it's pushed up off the bottom. So there's still plenty of space on the top. There's plenty of the back image on the top, so that's not a problem as long as the bottoms are at the bottom. And that's it. So if I zoom out a little bit here, that is our first page, our first two pages as a double page spread. Now when it comes to the text, I've left the text off on this picture, but we can add that in at any time. We can add that in now. So here's a couple I've prepared earlier, just a simple background, and you can do that by going to Elements here and picking a frame, a background for that. And you'll see shapes, squares, and all kinds of things with the corners cut off. If you don't want one, you don't have to use one. But I like the background to stand out. So I'm happy with that there. It's out of the way. It's got everything in place. It's the sentence that I showed you earlier, how to do that. Break it down to make sure you've got enough. So how many words are in this? 1, 2, 20, 21. Okay, so there's a bit more than the average of 18.5 that I'd worked out for my book. But so what? The next one could be a lot less. That's the first two pages done. And I'll continue. Let me just get rid of this. But this time I'll use an image with the text already in place from the uploads. Now if you put them in your folder, just go to your folder and get them from there. I've just, which is what I've done basically. And I showed you how to do that in a video too. Here we go with this one. And we're dragging it across. Leave a little bit and make sure it's pushed up, and then we let it go. Now we can copy it again or just drag it again. So if I copy that, add a page, paste, double click and move it that way now. And let's see what we got there. Yeah, we got a little bit more of that curtain. So maybe just to keep things even for that one, because it's the same background, I'll move that over a touch, as you can see there, and I'll move that one over a touch, pushing it up, making sure it's up off the bottom. Forget about aligning it to the top. As long as we've got the bottoms right, all these things will meet up. This line here will meet up with this line here, and all the lines will meet up. So we continue on. Paste, double click and move it across. Let's have a little look, bit of that on there. Okay, cool. And the next one, and so on and so on. Well, that didn't take too long. My coffee's still quite hot. But yeah, that's it. That's the interior done with double page spreads. So what I do now is to download, and I've got all 38 pages because I've just added a blank one to the end. It's good to finish the book with even numbers. When it comes to Canva, or when it comes to publishing to Amazon, because they're gonna round it to even numbers. They're gonna round it up, not so much down, to even numbers, because that's just the way a page works. 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way through the book. So it's got to end in an even number. So you might as well put that blank page in. So all pages are done. PDF print. Don't mess with anything else. And download. And that's it. That's the interior done. I open that up, and there it is. I'll shrink that down a little bit. And yeah, I'm thrilled with that. Well, look at what happens if you just want to use single pages. Right, so what you can do is, page 3 will be the page on the right, as we've said. And page 2, the even numbers are always on the left. I know it sounds odd, doesn't it? But that's the way it goes. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to put a lot of content in just one page. So you've got a lot of pages to do. Even if you have 32 pages, 30 of them, or at least 28 of them, are going to be images or stories in them, little snippets of the story. We're going with our first 2 pages again. I've took that whole picture and condensed it into one page. But like I say, you've got to bear in mind I've got another 28 pages at least to do, which is fine. You know, it could be jam-packed with all kinds of stuff. Single pages are fine, and you can get cram more of a story into the space you have. And like I said before, you can't just keep piling pages after pages. You know, you've got to keep it into a certain figure. And I recommend somewhere between 28 and 38 as a max, because the price of the print costs through Amazon don't vary very much in that bracket. And sort of, they won't affect your royalties as much. Once you go out of that, you're going to have to put the book price up to cover the same amount of royalties you'd have got with a couple of pages less. So I try to keep within that bracket. It's the price of colour, you see. And the other thing is, if you put too much colour in, too many darks, too many blacks, and it's too thick with colour, then you won't be able to use it as expanded distribution. So keep the colours like this, pastel-y if you can, for the most part, or light, or don't take as much space up with your images. So how do you work this? Could you make this into like a double page type spread? Yeah, I suppose you could. I want the colour of this first page here to look something like this, to match this. So if I click on the colours, I've got all the options here, see all, and it will give me this room here, the room colours. So I could put a bit of a pale blue in there, or maybe that one, and I could add the text into this area here, just the text. So remove the text from here, put it in here, and maybe add to the story if you wanted, but make the text bigger, do what you wanted, but stick that there, center it, and no text in here. So really you've got that explaining that image. You could get away with that as a double page spread and it would still look quite nice. So that's about it really. Yeah, I'd like to see some of the results. Send me a link or whatever else if you've managed to publish anything. I'd love to have a little peep. So next time what we're going to do is we're going to work on the cover, and we're going to use templates, and we're going to do it without a template. So you've got an option to do both. And then after that we'll move on to, on another video, we'll move on to doing the description, and we'll do that in HTML, and I'll show you the workings of that. I've already done that once. If you want to have a check that out in the meantime, you'll look up for, I'll put a link to that. And yeah, well eventually I'm going to be wanting you to come up with some keywords for me for the 7 slots. So let's see how you do with that, bearing in mind what the book is about. You know already if you've been following this. And yeah, let's have some keywords off you. I'll take a keyword, a long tail keyword, off, or something to fill one of the 7 slots off 7 people. Let's see how it goes, and then we'll see what sort of effect that has in the sales, and we can always change that about a bit in the future. So yeah,